You didn't think the exercise form mattered in the gym, but now after a few weeks of training, you are starting to feel some discomfort or even pain when doing, for example, shoulder press. And now you think you have two options. Alternative number one, you don't train so the injury can recover, but you're also aware that this could take multiple weeks and that you could lose some progress in the process. Option number two, you don't care, you ignore it, and you push through to not lose your gains. But there's also a significant risk that the injury will become even worse. My name is Till. My physique went from this to this, and both of these approaches are totally wrong. I've had a knee injury and not too long ago even a minor shoulder injury. It's very hard not to injure yourself sooner or later if you're training hard in the gym. Because you're always pushing yourself, you're always training hard, and especially if you have a lot of volume, it's very easy to injure yourself. This is why I also recommend that you train 3 times a week and not 6 times a week like all these bodybuilders. And like I said, the worst you can do is basically either don't train at all or just ignore it. Because when you ignore it, what happens is that you just keep pushing, you don't think it's that bad. You're a strong lifter, but not a smart one. You're very strong, disciplined, you just keep pushing. But then sooner or later, it just freaking snaps. The ice breaks, and you get a really bad injury. It will take you multiple months to recover from the injury, and you can't train at all, and you'll just really regret it. But what most people do is, the most common thing is that you feel pain when doing an exercise, and you just say, okay, I'll don't do the exercise, I'll just take some rest. And then you rest for 1 week, and then you feel like, alright, I should be good now. So what you do is you go straight back to your normal training plan, and then you injure yourself again, because it was about to heal. The injury was about to heal, but you just keep on pushing, and now you're at the start again. And it just becomes up and down all the time, and you think, okay, I'm not ready yet, I will rest for 2 weeks. You rest for 2 weeks, then after 2 weeks you think, damn, I'm ready now. You go to the gym, and the pain is still there. And you're just shooting yourself in the foot if you're doing this, because your muscles recover, but not your joints. Muscles recover a lot faster than tendons and joints, and it's very often not the muscles that are injured, it's often the tendons and the joints. And this is because the muscle get a lot more blood flow, a lot more oxygen, a lot more nutrients from the cells, from the blood, and tendons and joints don't get that much blood flow, and that's why it takes a lot longer for them to recover. And especially if you are a beginner who has still the newbie gains, where your muscles really just get bigger, get stronger really fast, it's growing incredibly fast, you can really easily get yourself an injury, because you still have weak tendons, but your muscles are getting stronger, you're using more and more weight. But to now heal the injury, you need to first understand how bad the injury actually is. And we first begin to make a pain scale from 1 to 10. And then you take a paper or you just write down and you answer these 3 questions. And these 3 questions are: how much pain are you feeling while doing the exercise? How much pain are you feeling right after the exercise, or a couple minutes after doing the exercise? And how much pain are you feeling 1 day, so 24 hours after doing the exercise? And these 3 questions you need to answer and write down. And this is how it will indicate the recovery, if you're healing, if you're doing too much. So for example, if we say you have pain when doing shoulder press. So you're doing shoulder press and you don't have a lot of pain while doing it. So you write down a 1 on the scale. And then right after, you don't feel a lot either. So you write down a 1 again. But then 24 hours later, you try to do it again, or you try to move your shoulder and you have a lot of pain, then you know that you did too much. So that's too much. You know, you have done too much and you need to reduce the intensity and the volume. But for example, if you do shoulder press and you feel a little bit of pain, maybe a 3 out of 10, and shortly after you feel a 2 out of 10, and then the day after you do it again and you feel nothing at all, or you feel really great, then maybe you didn't do something wrong. Because studies have shown that you can, or you're supposed to even, to push through a little bit of pain. You can push through a little bit of pain. It won't make your injury worse. But, of course, if you're going through a lot of hacking pain while doing exercise, don't do it. And if you have pain, like while doing exercise, after the exercise, and 24 hours after doing exercise, just freaking find a doctor. I am not a doctor, and this is just what I've done, and this has worked for me basically. So after you have answered these questions, you now will be able to navigate how you will plan your recovery. And what we will do for the minimal muscle loss and the fastest recovery, even shown by studies, is that we'll just keep doing the exercise. If you get pain, or if you feel pain while doing shoulder press, you will just keep doing shoulder press. But we will reduce the weight by a lot, and the intensity and the volume. We will just do very light sets, light and controlled sets, and really light, very controlled, really form focused. Because, like I said, the muscles grow a lot faster than the tendons. So what we will do is we will just slowly build up the strength of the tendon again, and you will lose not a lot of muscle because you're still doing the exercise, and it will basically help you recover the tendon a lot faster. But the question is how can we even prevent it? How can we prevent injury? Because, you know, if we can prevent it, it's a lot better, because it can take multiple weeks to actually heal from an injury. So what you do, if you want to prevent it, is number one, acknowledge it early. So if you're doing something, if you're doing bench press and you feel already a little pain in your chest, don't just wait and think, it's nothing. And then after 10 weeks, you can't do bench press no more. Acknowledge it from the start. Reduce the sets, reduce the weight, reduce the intensity, and just take it slow and controlled instead for a couple of weeks until you don't feel anything again. And then also, of course, you need to prioritize form and technique. So when it's the first time you're doing an exercise, and even later in your gym journey, when you've done the form of squatting or everything, you can always learn more about the form, optimize it even better. So go into YouTube, search up a form. If you've never done bench press or pull-ups, go into YouTube, search pull-up form, bench press form, watch the first video and try to implement everything. And very important as well is, after watching the video, practice it. Don't just put on 100 kilograms and just try to max it out. Take it slow. Practice it. Implement the things the dude said in the video, and take it slow. And first, when you feel comfortable, when you're feeling really comfortable, you will then increase the intensity, you will increase the volume, increase the weight. Not before. One thing a lot of people skip as well is a deload week. So about every 6 to 8 weeks, you should take a deload week where we just slow down. If you've been training hard for 4 to 8 weeks, you just take a deload week, meaning that you, on one whole week, you do the same thing as you always do in the gym, but with a lot less weight and not intensity at all. It's super light. This will not just help your nervous system to recover for 1 week, and it will help your tendons just slowly recover. And this will prevent a lot of injury. So always plan in a deload week in your training plan. So between every 6 to 8 weeks, or when you're feeling really sluggish, you do a deload week. And these are the tips I have. If you have learned something else, or if you have any recommendations or things I should talk about more, let me know in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching.